There's more news about Star Trek 4.
Also, Paramount's not doing great as a business right now.
No, and Paramount Star Trek is not doing great at all.
Also developing a separate Star Trek project with writer Seth Grahame-Smith, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Vampire Hunter. Heck yeah, dude.
Everything that's successful the past 2 years was written and directed by. Well, Hollywood is like in YouTube, but they're not of it. You know what I mean? Do we not give him a pass, or do we throw him a bone to hold out hope for Disney Star Wars?
I don't think we hold out hope.
No bones. No bones.
We don't hold out hope for anything.
Not even for George Lucas. We don't throw George a single bone.
We're not talking about money.
Right.
We're not talking about money. We're talking about popularity, and Dune was very, very popular.
I had a fun week this week.
Yeah.
Birthday.
Yeah.
Totaled my car.
Totaled your car.
Welcome back to the Wacky, Wonderful, Wise Works podcast, all you guys, gals, geeks, and goofballs. This is episode 380. I actually wanted to tell you guys something.
Is it 380 or 280?
It's 380. 380 episodes. We have more episodes than there are days of the year. Now, recently,
Okay.
I heard someone...
Wait.
on a podcast.
You didn't give us the welcome back, Wacky Wonderful.
Yes, I did.
Josh wasn't paying attention.
Oh, sorry.
So recently on a podcast, I heard someone. It was Dave Cross, I believe his name is. Right?
Okay.
He was talking about how he is up to like 14, 15 podcast episodes, and someone was like, "Oh, very good." Like, that's small freaking potatoes, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing.
I mean, it's like fingerling potatoes.
Fingerling.
We all know what fingerling potato is.
Good reference. Very solidly executed.
What's the I can't remember where it's from. What's the fingerling?
The one with Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio and Timothy Chalamet says something about fingerling potatoes.
Oh, right.
Wait,
Don't
do
look
they
up.
really?
Mhm.
When?
Don't look up.
Don't look up.
That's actually not what I was referencing at all. I just know what a fingerling potato is. But sure.
It wasn't even a movie reference.
So wait, you just...
Am I not? I'm so confused right now.
It wasn't even a movie reference.
Joshua said fingerling potatoes, so we don't know. He doesn't... He's like, you guys know. You know.
Okay.
We're like,
at the very least, at the very least,
What's going on right now?
At the very least, I'm usually like, oh, he just poorly executed a reference to a movie. That's usually the case.
I don't know what movie
going
except for
on
Don't
right
Look
now?
Up.
But yeah, Don't Look Up, where he mentions the fingerling potatoes.
The movie I slept through and didn't even watch, so I don't know this reference.
How do you know fingerling potatoes?
So you're referencing fingerling potatoes, just fingerling potatoes, just based off their reputation and goodwill.
Because they're small potatoes. He said small potatoes. Joseph said the podcast was small potatoes, fingerling potatoes. Do you not get
Joshua's
from
like-
A to B here?
No, I don't. I think me and Wyatt took it to B, and you stopped at A.1 or A.2 or whatever.
Joseph said small potatoes, and I said, "What's a small potato?"
Good grief, man!
A finger. I get it. I understand the leaps in logic.
Yes. Thank you.
It just so happened to coincide with the fingerling reference, which is the only reference people make to Don't Look Up.
And I have not seen the movie because while you guys watched it, I fell asleep.
Right, you fell asleep.
So I did not know this was a reference.
But this is like this is like if Josh said "as you wish," not referencing the Princess Bride. He just got there naturally somehow.
And he's
we
like,
were
"You
all
guys
like,
know,
yeah,
as you wish."
You guys know,
right?
as you wish, right?
As you
And
wish.
then we all go,
Sure.
yeah, from the Princess Bride. He's like, no, no, just the phrase "as you wish,"
That's
like what Darth Vader says to Boba Fett.
You guys know.
You guys know.
Oh man. Well,
We have fingerling potatoes here.
I wanted to. This is not my podcast. Why did you have besides the first segment? Did you have something you wanted to kick us off with? Because I do have something interesting.
I don't. I
Okay.
really don't. So go ahead.
AMC Entertainment stock drops over 16% amid plans to sell $250 million in stock due to a weak first quarter box office and ongoing financial challenges. So AMC, I wanted to quickly discuss, because we've talked, and you guys have also thrown around the idea of like, oh, we should someday start a drive-in movie theater.
Well, no. I know where you're going with this.
Don't get held up on what I just said, please.
No. This is an actual discussion with what you just said. AMC, their stocks are going down because there was that meme with everybody buying the stock, and now people are selling their shares, and that's why it's going down. It has nothing to do with.
So you think that
in general? I know what you're going with. I know where you're going here.
No. You think the first quarter being of this calendar year or financial year being really bad, and then the stock drops 16%, because it seems like the stock is dropping because the first quarter is low, which kind of naturally happens, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's because people are selling their stock after the AMC theater meme?
I think people have mostly already sold, but I think there's still some residual people that held on.
I think it's because there were barely any bangers in the theaters and people weren't going to anything except for Dune Part 2.
Maybe. But so back to what you were saying, us start a drive-in movie theater.
Well, I was just saying the business is seemingly going down, all right? And I wanted to say like, hey, I've thrown around some ideas of how maybe the business could heal, and people don't seem to be responding to my ideas, and neither do you guys. But I was like, all right, community theaters, not like big business, but like community theaters. You have a bunch of moderate, medium to small size of community theaters that the community keeps up with. So you don't have a ton of overhead, and you don't have a big electric bill, and you don't have this huge, building loan for your theater you're trying to pay off. You just have smaller theaters that people could still watch Hollywood movies in, and it's also not as packed with people. There's a lot of reasons why I think that works, but the theater, here's the problem. People want to see movies, but they only want to see the good movies that are worth going to the theater to watch. And that's not all of the movies that are being released in theaters right now. So this is just another example of saying, hey, it's not COVID. We're just literally not doing well in this business right now. One big success does not hold the theaters for the calendar year, or two big successes. You know what I mean? Barbenheimer is not saving theaters. It saved theaters for the summer of 2023, and that's about it.
Right.
So what I'm saying is like, what's going to help this? Because the majority of the year, they're not doing great financially, the theaters, especially AMC. And there's only like one or two successes annually when it comes to money income. So like, if this is a continuous trend, they're just going to go away. How do we save it or replace it?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have
streaming services.
That's not the streaming services.
The streaming, Joshua, my goodness.
I'm kidding.
Two separate businesses. So do you think AMC, maybe that's interesting actually, Joshua. Do you think the streaming services have to like buy out AMC and Regal and then set up their own from the ground up build business of how theaters are operated? Like the Netflix theater as opposed to
I kind of
AMC?
assumed that was like I assumed that was kind of the next evolution, that, AMC and, like Fathom Events and Regal and all of these things would sort of eventually phase out, and then you would get the Netflix Hulu theater.
The Netflix IMAX theater, right?
Yeah, you would get the you'd get the Disney Hulu experience.
Sure.
But the reason I don't think that's happening is because
Well, Disney can't. They're not doing
Disney
great
can't.
financially.
And you would the only reason it could happen is if Disney did it, because they would be like, this is the Disney Plus theater experience, right?
Mhm.
where we draw the Disney theaters, right? Netflix would have to be funding it with the stuff from their app, whereas Disney could fund it with the other stuff that they have. It wouldn't have to be the app thing, the streaming thing, but
Okay.
Netflix would have to be like, this is the Netflix theater where we drop all of our movies. That's what they should be doing.
I just had a brilliant idea.
What's your
Okay.
brilliant idea?
Business-wise, I think when it comes to logos, when it comes to money, when it comes to resources, when it comes to speaking to the production companies, these businesses' core values. Okay, here we go. Amazon Prime. Get out of the content creation business. Prop up having everything available digitally to rent or buy, because they already do that. That's a good part of Amazon Prime's business. Is if you can't find it on streaming, you can rent or buy it definitely on Amazon Prime. Okay. They just have to make a contract to like work with Netflix also, so that it's not just exclusive stuff, right? And then Amazon Prime becomes like the big theater company. So Prime Theater. So you have Prime Video, which is everything you could possibly find if you don't want to pay for a streaming, if you don't want to pay for a show, if you like network television, reality shows, but you can't find it anywhere. Well, you could definitely pay a little bit of money, get it on Prime, right? They get a cut. It's all good. Then they set up theaters. So Prime Video becomes Prime Theaters, right? Then everyone goes to them, like the Disneys, and they also have the resources. They could do awesome contracts to set up IMAX theater Prime theaters. You know what I'm saying? Like Prime Video could be the foundation, and stop doing all this content creation that ultimately like is very middle of the road or bad.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the next step is, but like we have things like the Dome in Vegas, but that's so expensive to create that by the time we get new technology, I don't think it would be like feasible money wise. Like we wouldn't have paid that off yet. I don't think.
I
Maybe
think
we
there's
would.
plans to create 4 to 6 of the domes in the world. So that's not not
I know, but I'm saying like the technology is that advanced now. It's like, what's the next thing, but yet still feasible for the everyday person to go see and put in like this town and then build another one in this town. We can't build these domes because they're way too expensive.
But you could have many like IMAX theaters. Well, I guess that's
Mini
contradictory.
domes?
Mini ones. So like you still have a pretty large screen, maybe not as big, but if you have a smaller audience pool, you don't have to have as big of a screen for it to be IMAX. You just have to make sure it's big enough to fit the peripheral, you know what I mean?
I guess.
Have a quality sound. And then you have mini ones. And you could set up more, and they're community based. And you don't have to have people don't have to drive 30 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever to go to the nice IMAX theater or the nice just theater in general and sit with a bunch of people you don't necessarily know. I don't know. I'm doing my best, man. I don't want theaters to go away. And I feel
I don't
like
either.
we come up with a
I don't either.
solution.
Well,
Because everyone's asking, how does AMC stick around? How do they continue being a theater company when they're almost quarter over quarter losing money and the stock is dropping?
I think we know what the next step is. It's something else. We've reached the point where a lot of these businesses are so bloated that one little thing starts to destroy them, and they can't course correct because they're so dead set on the way that they do things.
But with theaters,
they have to either radically evolve, or somebody else has to start doing it better. Look what happened with Blockbuster. they wouldn't radically evolve and somebody else started doing it better.
Yes,
That's what
but
needs to happen.
Blockbuster could have easily done what what Amazon Prime is doing, right?
Hmm.
They didn't have to become Netflix. All they had to do was freaking
Wait,
we
have
sell
Jake
digital
Gyllenhaal and
versions.
Conor McGregor in a movie together?
Good grief, Joshua. No. All they have to do is sell the digital versions of movies. So
Mhm.
it's convenient. That's all
Oh,
they had to
yeah.
do.
Yeah, well, that was the reason. Even though Netflix at the time, their library for movies
Small. And
was
Netflix
yeah.
Netflix picked in the early days what you wanted to watch,
Yeah.
right? So they would only send you like a disc or whatever that had like 3 or 4 movies on it, and
Or
you had to
they
pick
would
one of
send
those.
you they would so what they did in the early days was they sent you 3 discs.
Right.
I mean, Blockbuster had a similar mailing system, but they would send you would get 1 Blockbuster movie, and it took like weeks. I'm serious,
Mhm.
it took weeks. Netflix had theirs there in, a week.
Right.
It was so fast. And then,
As soon as
so
that online library
so
popped up.
what you did was you ordered the movies that you really wanted to watch because those were all the mailing movies.
Mhm.
And then if you were just chilling and watching casually, you just watched what was on their free library. And it was a
Right.
lot of movies. And it wasn't necessarily great movies, but there were some enjoyable ones, and then good ones started popping up on there eventually.
Yeah. I'm
So
just saying, like, because you're right, something else. But the problem is the thing that's killing theaters is people watching movies at home. But also, you're not having most people are not having a theater experience at home. So, what is this big cinematic experience going to be replaced with? Because right now, the answer of streaming at home is the replacement, but it is not a
I think
good
you have to
replacement. It is not a
stop. You
quality
have to
replacement.
stop uploading your new movies onto your streaming service. Stop it. You're not making any money. You want people to go watch Roadhouse, but you want Amazon to make the money? Then you need Amazon theaters. They have the money.
Yeah, that's so we're circling back.
Stop
Yeah.
releasing your movie on streaming immediately. Put it into your theater. Let it have a theater run.
Rebel Moon. Imagine how much money Netflix would have made if they had a cinematic experience for Rebel Moon, but they
Right.
didn't. They just
Yeah.
dropped it on for people to
I'm
watch at home.
curious. I wish streaming services were honest about their numbers because I'm really curious of people that, signed up for 1 month or tried to, rent the movie Roadhouse or something like that, or even Rebel Moon because of like a really popular movie that come out.
I'm sure all the time.
Oh, and they could sorry. Do you know how theaters do like the pay $20 and you can watch any movie you want for a month? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as many as you want for a month.
Yeah.
Streaming services could do the exact same thing. They could just upsell, be like, you have your at-home library, and then for our Netflix theaters, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just pay an extra $9.99 a month, and you can watch any Netflix movie we release in theaters. As many Netflix things we want to show in theaters that week or that month, as much as you want. So you could still do a subscription model for theaters because they're already doing it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Joshua's like, I don't know. Freaking.
I really think the if you really want to get people in theaters, start opening up your own theaters. Why? I
Maybe.
don't know why we are relying on this legacy these legacy media corporations. Start opening your own theaters. It's the only way to kind of break
It's
this
the only way.
monotony, and people are like, oh, we're losing money because movies aren't going to the theaters. Open your own. Amazon has the money. Open your own movie theaters.
They do.
I'm trying to see if Netflix has a movie theater. No, they don't.
I had a fun week this week.
Yeah. Birthday. Yeah.
Totaled my car.
Totaled your car.
That's tell that story real quick, Joshua.
So it was my birthday. I was coming home from work because I was like, oh, I'll work in the morning, then get off, have a good dinner for my birthday,
Sure.
do the thing. And on my way home from work, it was raining pretty hard, but I was driving pretty safe. I'm like, I can see, I'm okay, not doing anything wrong here. I'm just driving down the interstate, and I just happened to hit a puddle of water and start hydroplaning.
Mhm.
And as soon as I hit the puddle, usually you hit the puddle and you're like, "Tss," it makes the noise, and then you kind of just correct yourself and you're good. Well,
Mhm.
as soon as I hit the puddle, I felt my back end of my car start spinning like this. And then it turned the other way. And then I just like, uh-oh. And I
Oh,
just
yeah.
started spinning on the interstate. I don't know exactly how fast I was going. Probably like, 50, 60, maybe. Yeah, probably like 60, closer to 60.
Nice.
But you're fine. Like you
I'm fine.
survived.
I'm not really hurt. I was banged up a bit. I got a lot of bruises, but I'm fine. It's been a week, man.
That's really sucks that it happened on your birthday too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What a horrible way, because you worked on your birthday. You're like, oh, I gotta work on my birthday. So you're probably going home. You're like, all right, got through work. The rest of the day is my birthday.
It was but it was raining hard.
So it was gonna be an indoor birthday, and then it
Right.
ended up being a get a tow truck birthday.
Mhm. Some birthdays are
Freaking-
like that.
Mm.
That's horrible timing. I'm sorry that happened. And
So,
I'm glad you weren't hurt.
But you know what made the birthday?
All right, you know
lit
what? Maybe I mmoved
Star
the
Trek. I was trying to create a segment about
you were
the
gonna say
worth
something
it.
about fingerling potatoes.
I was gonna say, you know what made my birthday worth it? The news that Star Trek is gonna have a new movie.
Yes, it is Star Trek.
Trek.
Not Star Trek. That's a
Star
racist.
Trek.
Wait, there's not a track that they
So-
run around.
No, so I went ahead and chose this slide because it really emphasizes Star Trek today. Legacy characters shunted into the background.
Yeah.
And new TV shows forefront. But yes, we are talking a little bit of Star Trek news. So this is like I don't know how many times this has happened, but the Star Trek 4, there's more news about Star Trek 4, and it's like,
Okay, give us the updated news. We've talked about this before, where
yeah,
it looks like it might be a prequel, and they're
I
trying
feel
to
like-
bring back Chris.
I feel like they've rewritten it a bunch of times. I
Yeah.
don't even know if it's
I feel like we
about that
just talked
anymore.
about this
We
like
haven't.
3 months ago.
Nope.
Well,
Yes.
not
Maybe,
three-
maybe a little bit, but that's the thing. They keep dropping. They've been. How long have we been talking about this? They have been dropping Star Trek 4 news for the past like how many years? When did Star Trek Beyond drop?
Oh, it was
early. Let me look it
no,
up.
yeah, it
What
was,
it, like
2018.
2017?
Yeah,
2018?
2017, 2018. Yeah, somewhere in there.
It was a long time ago.
Because no,
It was
earlier than
July of 2016.
that. Yeah, earlier than that.
2016.
That was the
Come
last one.
on.
Good grief, man.
That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
because I had just gotten out of high
you
school.
can't even blame
That's
you can't
8
even
years.
blame you can't even blame the pandemic on that.
No,
I don't
is
think-
8 years ago.
I mean, sure, the pandemic was tough, but Hollywood was still working. So what they're doing
Uh-huh.
is, it seems like every couple months they drop a new piece of news. And this is why I bring this up, because the article is not really in depth or anything. But they keep doing this. And
Okay.
so scroll down, it says Star Trek 4 beams up somebody.
What's it say? Beams up new
screenwriter. From the flight attendant creator, Steve Yockey.
The flight attendant.
Yeah,
Okay.
from HBO.
All right. The one that was
He-
canceled?
Right, exactly. So Steve Yockey's joining Starfleet as the new screenwriter. Big news. Great news here, guys.
No one cares about Steve Yockey. No
well,
offense.
not even Steve, but um
I mean, there's some
like a
Steve
new
Yockey, right?
screenwriter. I don't think people care. This isn't like news for Star Trek.
Can we?
This isn't
Story
this isn't
details
an
remain
actor.
under a powerful cloaking device, but Paramount Pictures and Bad Reboots still intend Project to be the final chapter in the final chapter for the cast that rebooted the franchise in movie theaters, 2009 Star Trek. So Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, blah blah blah, Simon Pegg. Bringing the cast back following 2016 Star Trek Beyond has proven trickier for the studio than finding an, what does that say?
And
Altruistic Ferengi?
Ferengi. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
at
know
least
what Ferengi.
yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that word
Don't know what
used.
that word means.
At least 3 previous attempts fell apart for various reasons. Most recently, the director, Matt Shackman, from WandaVision, and screenwriters, Lindsay Beer. Blah, what are they saying? Slated open when Shackman left for the Fantastic Four. Yeah. Wild.
Okay. Ferengi was coined based on the Persian term Ferengi used throughout Asia, compared to older Ferengi, meaning foreigners or Europeans. So in that context, studio then finding an altruistic Ferengi.
I think they're basically saying replacement.
Okay.
But so
also Paramount's not doing great as a business right
no,
now.
and Paramount Star Trek is not doing great at all.
No, the show on the streaming platform is
So, and I've
nothing
heard,
but hate.
I've heard that, I've heard that there's contention between Alex Kurtzman, who's running all the Star Trek stuff for Paramount, and J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Did you say there's conflict?
There's when they first went into this in the first Star Trek movie, they were in it together,
right?
And then they were gonna do shows, and Abrams kind of abandoned it and let Kurtzman have it, and started working on ruining Star Wars and stuff.
Mhm.
And now it's like I think there's issues. There's issues with.
You think it's a bigger paycheck?
Well, there's issues with Kurtzman and Abrams because Kurtzman thinks that Abrams kind of needs the attention, wants the attention to be a superstar.
He wants to be Chris Nolan, let's be honest. He wants to be a superstar director.
And now Abrams is coming back to try and work on the Star Trek movies. And so I think he feels like he's just going to come back and try to take over.
Well, if it's a movie, he's the one who's been doing the Star Trek movies. And
but what is Abrams worked on recently?
The Star Wars movie?
Like nothing.
He did his Cloverfield stuff, which nobody watched.
Nothing. And despite Star Trek being kind of dead right now, the shows are still going. And I think maybe Abrams sees that as an opportunity. It's like, oh, well, those are still going. People are still watching them for some reason. Maybe I can get back in there and make another movie and have a success.
I think Abrams just looking for something to do.
Looking for something.
This is kind of a question. How come, besides what Disney's doing with Star Wars, why did Star Wars have this, huge fan base that was super loyal? And I'm not saying Star Trek fans aren't loyal, but they're almost they've put themselves in the closet at this point where you're not seeing any Star Trek fans. You're only seeing either Star Wars people but I think they're kind of in the same boat here.
They are. So Star Trek, it's because Star Trek is dying, frankly. And the Star Trek fandom has always been less, number one, less vocal, also less normie accessible. So
I
Star Wars
guess.
is much more normie accessible. So being a fan of Star Wars is much easier. Star Trek has always had a little bit more of um cap on the kind of people that want to watch it. And so the fandom is very different. And so all the shows and stuff that have been coming out recently for Star Trek have been bad. They've been extremely woke, and the Star Trek fandom has just lost interest completely and are
Yeah.
not excited. Haven't been excited about Star Trek anything since Kurtzman kind of took over and started doing the
I
television
mean,
shows.
I've seen all the original movies. I have not, I don't think, seen all of the Next Generation, but I've seen all the William Shatner movies, and the newer movies with Chris Pine and Zoe and everything. I've seen all those, and I really enjoy Star Trek universe.
Yeah.
But then I
Oh, me
tried
too.
I've tried the Paramount Plus show,
Me too.
and I just was bored right off the
Oh,
bat.
me too. I seriously, I watched that first. I want to say it was what, Discovery?
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
with
That's the
what's
one I
her
tried.
face? The
Yeah.
the the lady in that the black lady? Her?
Earlier.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not talking about the cartoon one. I did actually watch I
Wait,
watched
that's not the same one? I thought.
I watched that whole. She's not even the main character of that show, by the way.
Yeah.
I watched that whole first season of that cartoon show. It was pretty funny. There was some pretty good references, pretty deep cut references to Star Trek. It was interesting to have kind of a funny take on Star Trek.
Right.
Mhm.
Galaxy
but
Quest did it better.
but doing it as
Not
like
cartoon.
these are the characters that you don't see. They're the ones operating like the fan motors and air conditioning and stuff in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ship. It's like they don't matter.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fun idea. I don't know what the show looks like now, but
So listen to this. This it's caught my eye. Paramount is also developing a separate Star Trek project with writer Seth Graham Smith, Abraham Lincoln Vampire
yeah,
Hunter.
Vampire Hunter. Heck
What?
yeah, dude.
What kind of
What?
Toby Haynes, Black Mirror, USS
I'm a-
Callister, which I heard was a terrible episode of Black Mirror.
This is a big serious problem with Hollywood. Not only do you have the AI stuff, but you also have like Hollywood just using and reusing and recycling people that are these creators that are making stuff that nobody likes.
Well, let's be honest, Hollywood has kind of always done that. If you look at writers from comedy writers, even just from different shows, they bounce around. They bounce around. Good comedy writers bounce from comedy show to comedy show and write for a multitude of different shows, and there's nothing wrong with that if they're good writers. The problem is the writers that we have now are bad writers,
Yeah.
and so we're seeing them
All
go
of them,
from
apparently.
bad shows or poorly, like you got that episode of Black Mirror, poorly directed episodes of shows, and going to entire series. You're going to get somebody who directed one bad episode of a show to help write and direct for entire series, and I think that's the problem. If you get the writers from Star Trek Discovery and have them go in to write the movies and new shows, then of course nobody's going to watch it. Nobody wants to watch it.
Do you think there's some kind of disconnect in Hollywood? Maybe it always has been, but very much so now, where, and we kind of talked about this, but like, unless the person who's co-producing and directing it is also the writer of the story, so they're writing the stuff they know they want to direct, do you think there's some kind of disconnect there where if you don't have that, it's just going to kind of fall apart, or it's just not going to come across very well? Because everything that's successful the past 2 years was written and directed by, you know what I mean?
Right. Anything made by committee, anything produced by committee where you watch it and at the end there's a bunch of credits for how like 10 or 15 producers. The director is directing, and then the producers give all of their notes, and all the notes have to be taken seriously. And that's the episode, or that's the show.
But even
Anything
like
produced
the
by
Duffer
committee.
Brothers with Stranger Things, like they written and directed that show, and it's a
Yeah.
hit.
Yeah.
Well, I think this there's a huge scope and there's a lot to get into when you say that specifically but I think it ties into just loyalty and then also like hierarchy with this fake I don't even know how to say this really, but like almost like YouTubers versus Hollywood creators, you know?
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's what
indie
it is.
creators
Absolutely.
and Hollywood producers. But because if you look back, you know, for things that are good, and not this is not everything. There's a lot of things that, you know, somebody wrote a movie like, you know, The Empire Strikes Back, where, you know, that wasn't wrote, directed, and all of that, but it's
Yeah,
a
by
great
George
movie, The
Lucas.
Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars. But a lot of stuff, you know, people write a script and they're passionate about it because it's their script. Like John Krasinski. Then he gets it
Yes.
approved by a studio, and then it goes and he makes it, he directs it, he acts in it because it's his project. And it also, yes, he had some fame from, you know, The Office, and that's a big show, but usually it's like that's what gets them a start. It's someone from like a show that's kind of well known, but not that well known. And then this kind of boosts their career too. And I think right now, because of YouTube, because of all these streaming platforms, because of these people that are like, no, movies in theaters are better than movies on streaming. It's almost like we don't want to work with you because you're a YouTube creator. But then those creators are, in my opinion, probably most of the time better at making things than these Hollywood creators because they've been on their high horse
Well,
too long.
so many creators are now moving to YouTube that
Mhm.
it's so many Hollywood creators are moving away from Hollywood and trying to get into alternate entertainment spaces. And so, yeah, a lot of your YouTubers are now going to be the creative type, the creatives that who would have originally gone and worked for Hollywood, who were supplanted by, you know, the college graduates who, you know, were indoctrinated in college with ideologies and things. They, you know, the creatives were supplanted by fake creatives. So where do the creatives go? They go to places like YouTube.
Well, it's a part of the downsizing of Hollywood, you know? The people who are truly creative are right now, they're going to find the most ability to be creative. When they downsize, they make it about them and just a couple people. And they're working with a website who's going to put their film out, or they're working with a YouTube channel that's going to put their film out, or they just do their own YouTube channel and they talk
Yeah.
about it. Like even the indie market, and I know we've experienced this, especially me, aspirations to be a filmmaker. And I have created a handful of short films, some long short films, like an hour. And I'm finding it's like, look, the only way to build an audience and to get people to actually care and to make it ultimately even have a hope to make something that I actually want to create, I have to go through YouTube and build my own audience. And then you build rapport. It's the Olin Rogers thing. It's like his YouTube audience is consuming his stuff. It doesn't matter if he was on TBS or whatever. And is that Adult Swim or whatever it was that originally purchased it?
Who?
There, Olin Rogers.
Oh
Final
yeah, yeah,
Space,
yeah. It was I think
TBS.
TBS that purchased it originally,
And then it got
and
sold to Adult Swim.
then it got sold to Adult Swim.
It doesn't matter because it's the YouTube audience is going to be the ones that watch it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with his new stuff. So it's kind of like this downsizing. And then the people that don't have experience in YouTube or a whole lot of experience in creativity, they're being hired right out of activist college. They're going straight to YouTube. They're going straight to Hollywood and saying, "Oh, look, Mom, I'm working in Hollywood." And then they make the worst stuff Hollywood has ever put out.
Exactly. And where is the creative marketing going? It's going to YouTube.
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson markets basically all of his stuff he markets on YouTube and he markets on Instagram.
Right.
We're done talking about Star Trek, but
I mean, and it goes back to I know this is a joke, but back to the fingerling potatoes. It's like everybody is going on when they have to promote a film, they go onto this podcast that this YouTuber has these days. They're not, yes, they are still going to Jimmy Fallon, but you're less known.
That's gonna go away soon.
You're less, that's less known these days, or people don't even watch that as much as these, what's a big show on Flagrant? They'll go on Flagrant and promote their movie on Flagrant.
They'll go on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Well, I don't even want to mention Joe Rogan because that's its own thing. But
no, it's not. It's on YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah, but even just a not even that well known YouTuber. I mean, they're well known. I don't want to say that, but
okay, yeah. But Casey Neistat had Doug Liman he made a video with Doug Liman to promote Roadhouse. Literally,
I mean, that's a little different because they were friends, but yeah.
But it's the same thing. You don't think that Casey Neistat probably reached out to him and Doug Liman was like, yeah, let's definitely do some video about a vlog video and it'll help promote the film. I mean, I watched that video that you sent that Casey did and I was like, definitely watching Roadhouse soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta watch it.
People are promoting on YouTube. They're promoting on Instagram and it's
all of the Dune Part 2 promotional material was these YouTube channels.
Everything I think is shifting and changing. So yeah, if you're looking to be a creative, if you want to do interesting stuff, I don't think Hollywood is the right place right now.
Well, Hollywood is in YouTube, but they're not of it. You know what I mean? So Hollywood is they have their Disney Plus YouTube channel,
Yeah.
But
they're content creators. Hollywood is attempting to be content creators, and because they're creating content, consumable content, that is why they're failing.
But look, no, if you want to be of YouTube, it means you have to have personality-driven content. You have to build rapport with an audience on YouTube. You have to create content that extends resource and extends value to the audience and only occasionally ask for something in return. There's a whole system to how to be a powerful YouTuber, and it's something that we are implementing and learning as we grow. And it's something that ultimately benefits these biggest YouTubers. They have something. There's more people watching. I know Joshua gets annoyed when I do this because he knows about something for a long time and then I get on it and then I'm acting like it's brand new and I just discovered it. But Diary of a CEO, there's more people watching that podcast.
Yeah.
There's more people watching that podcast than is watching Star Trek on Paramount Plus.
Yes.
A lot more people.
Yes.
And all that they're doing is a podcast.
Yes. So, I mean, this is a big thing.
That's just an example. That's just an example.
It's an example, but also that's a unique example too, though, because that guy is already on a traditional show called Dragon's Den. We just don't know about it as Americans. It's a UK show. He's Shark Tank for the UK. He has a traditional show, but then you can almost see the behind the scenes of that show in his life because you know him from that show on his YouTube channel and on his podcast.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's someone who has dabbled in old media through network TV, and then ultimately he's known for his YouTube. He has purposefully said, "I am of YouTube. I'm not just putting my stuff on YouTube." You know what I mean?
He's of YouTube.
I'm really pushing this idea of being on YouTube and being of YouTube because I feel like if you're on YouTube much, you just kind of know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
You're either in the culture and in the content creation of YouTube, or you just upload stuff to YouTube. And that's two different cultures that are inside the platform.
Sure.
Yeah, but network TV was network TV was, in order for your show to stay afloat, you had to get viewers every week. They were monitoring how many people were
Yeah.
watching your show. YouTube, some YouTubers, even small YouTubers, get hundreds of thousands or just tens of thousands of views on videos that they release daily,
Yeah.
not weekly,
Yes.
which is insane.
And the thing is, if you're putting out good content, that's an attainable goal because of the YouTube platform. Like
Yeah.
there's no guardrails there. It's literally just figure it out, and you can also do that. It's not like with Hollywood has so many guardrails. It's literally the idea of below the line and above the line, right? And
Mhm.
you can't bring that culture of above the line and below the line culture into a YouTube platform. You can, it's just not going to be like you get. So I am in one episode. I know you said this is not a good example, but it is because it's one guy who is doing a podcast, Joe Rogan. More people are exposed and promoted the content of Zack Snyder than
Mhm.
the entire Netflix YouTube channel.
Yeah.
YouTube could put out all of this promotional material, and yeah, the trailers might get watched and whatnot, but ultimately people will watch your film because he went on Joe Rogan and got to know Zack Snyder. You know what I mean? Or you
Mhm.
got to hear he was as a person. That's going to be so much more impactful and so much more buy-in to the filmmaker's content than a trailer on the Netflix YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nowadays so I looked it up. Nowadays, basically, to keep a show on air on broadcast television is to have like 1 million viewers
That's
on an
a
episode.
lot.
Um, it is a lot, but that's an episode a week.
Well,
And
there's also the question of how are we quantifying this? Because there's in broadcast TV, right?
Mhm.
There's also the culture of, are we talking about actual viewers or are we talking about access to homes?
I think there's an actual thing where it's like if somebody turns it on for a certain amount of time, they count that as views.
Yeah, but it's still okay. We'll roll with it. That's
Yeah,
a
I
pretty
don't
big
know,
number.
but it is a pretty big number. But that's for modern television. I'm sure it was much less when for when TV was big, and we're talking like in the
Yeah.
late '90s, early 2000s when TV.
I think it was more, dude. I think it was a
You
lot
think it was
more
more?
because that's all people had. We're talking about like the
True.
I Love Lucy's back in the day. They were getting like 90 million people watching in one
Yeah,
episode.
you're right.
I
But
think it's gone way down.
it's interesting though that it's I think people are diversifying their entertainment.
There's a lot more to
And
consume now.
And so there's a lot more videos. So yeah, but you can survive off a couple tens of thousands of views if on videos that you're putting up daily.
Yeah.
And big YouTubers will get 1 million views consistently.
But you
on a
don't have
video.
to be a big YouTuber, dude. You just have to be a medium-sized YouTuber and you have influence.
Yeah.
Like and you can have like I don't believe in manifestation, but I'm just
Mm.
saying it. I will do a podcast with Greg Fraser one day. I just
Uh,
will. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen. And
you got to have the vision.
but I don't even need to have 1 million subscribers to do it because he's doing podcasts with people right
Yeah,
now
yeah.
that only have 20,000 subscribers. You know what I mean? So
But I mean,
they're also getting people like Denis Villeneuve and Hans Zimmer on the same podcast. You know?
yeah. I'm saying
No.
what I'm just saying to sort of wrap this up is um it's interesting that there are just regular dudes like Charlie from Moist Critical who's putting up basically daily uploads and getting upwards of 1 million to 2 million on each video,
Mhm.
and it takes at least 1 million to keep a show running week to
Mhm.
week. We've entered a completely different content viewership culture. And we kind of need Hollywood to sort of change.
Step up their game or change or do something. I don't know. Just do something.
Yeah.
If you want to live in the old media, this old media, you better be putting out bangers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like that old dude in that video. You guys seen the old dude who's like, you might want to think about changing your ways or changing your name.
Right. Right.
I think of that dude.
All right. Thank you, Cynthia, for being a Patreon supporter.
Yes.
She gets early content, 5 days early of the podcast. She gets exclusive podcast pre-shows that we record. And she gets it all only for $3.99 a month, or for roughly $4. Look, it is so affordable for a whole month. So affordable. You could get that and a coffee. You don't have to skip out on coffee. You could just get our monthly subscription to a YouTube membership or Patreon, get all of these access, and you just do general. It's just also awesome general support for us. And you get all these awesome perks and exclusive content by just joining the Patreon or joining the YouTube memberships. We make it really easy for you. And you also get your name in the credits of podcasts and such. So consider becoming a member or a Patreon supporter like Cynthia is. We love her for it, and we give her shout outs because of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Did you guys hear? So I've been subscribed to him for a long time, but I've recently been paying a little closer attention to this guy on Star Wars Theory, okay?
Yeah.
And the reason why is because he has an interesting take with the George Lucas stuff about him backing Bob Iger and all that, right?
We're going back to this?
Just real quick.
Real quick.
So, but George Lucas came out and said, because, the board at Disney is having a whole issue with the people trying to essentially get on the board and turn Nelson Peltz, activist investor, trying to get on the board and have influence over the direction of the Disney company.
Mm-hmm.
So it requires current board members and people that are fighting it to get influence, all right, with majority stockholders.
Yes.
And there's a big stockholder. Obviously, we know George Lucas. He when it comes to Star Wars, it's his. So he backed Bob Iger in the current Disney Star Wars administration.
Of course he's going to.
Right. But there's an interesting take on this, because George Lucas in the past he referenced selling his stuff to Disney as selling it to the white slavers. All right.
What?
It was a slam. And he didn't mean to say it, but he said it. He let it slip, and then he kind of giggled like, "Oh, that was a bad choice of words." But it was a manifestation of what he actually feels, right? So
he's just trying to make the most money, so you go to the highest investor?
No, that he regrets selling. Basically, it was like sort of insinuating that he regrets selling it to Disney because of what they've done to the story. Okay.
Right.
And the guy on Star Wars Theory, he read the book that Bob Iger put out back years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, he tells a story about how that's kind of based around young Indiana Jones. So George Lucas really wanted to make young Indiana Jones, right?
Mm-hmm.
A sequel. Or I think it was the first one or second one. I don't know the details exactly. But basically, no one was having it. But Bob Iger said, I will help you. I will speak out, and we will get this thing made with me backing you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of did George Lucas a favor, because George Lucas really believes in it. All that to say, it didn't do well. Everyone was right, but George Lucas really wanted to make that film.
Talking about the show?
Young Indiana Jones, the one that was not popular. But it was something that George wanted to do. And Bob Iger helped him do it. And I think what his theory, Star Wars theory about this, is basically like George feels not good about Star Wars Disney, but he kind of has a long history of favors and good feelings around Bob Iger
Bob
specifically.
Iger. Yeah.
And I mean, he
And
can't say anything at this point. He
Oh,
sold it.
well, not exactly, because he still had he doesn't own the property,
But
but
he owns a lot of stock.
he owns a lot of stock, and he also owns influence, because if George Lucas comes out and says, I do not appreciate Disney Star Wars and I don't want any of it to be canon, you know,
That would be wild.
that
if
would
he did
drop
that.
the stock. Literally, it would drop the stock.
That's what
Okay.
people have been hoping for and waiting for, that George would ride in on a white horse with a flaming sword and be like, yeah, no, I don't really support this, and wearing double denim outfit or whatever he wears, and that's not
With
gonna. I
that
don't
chin
think
strap.
that's. Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Well,
I don't
here's
think
the
it's
theory.
gonna happen. He's already put his support behind Bob Iger, and whether he agrees with what they're doing with Star Wars or not, like you said, I think it could have to do with his history with Bob.
I think
well,
this is what the guy on Star Wars Theory thinks. He thinks that him and Bob had a conversation with everything that Bob has been saying about how they're trying to they have plans to basically stop doing all this activism content, stop, all the things that we've covered on the channel before. I think there's hope, at least, that Bob Iger and George Lucas had a conversation, and George Lucas basically said, hey, I'll do you a favor. I won't continue doing favors unless you fix this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Bob Iger promised him that he'll fix Star Wars.
But I honestly think these guys are confused. I think they could look at basically anything that Disney Star Wars has put out, and honestly, I think George could be like, yeah, that seems like Star Wars to me. Because he doesn't even know his own story. He was making it up as he went along.
Well, he had a pretty clear vision of the first movie.
Of the first trilogy, yes. And then even the prequel trilogy, he knew what he wanted to do, but I think he was making all of that lore up after the fact. After the first 3 movies were successful, he started making up the lore for the history and everything, and wanted to do those movies. And and so I think, and anything Star Wars that came out, I think he was just happy that his story was getting expanded and had taken on this unstoppable life, basically.
I mean, it's. I mean, just thinking about the original movie, like, can you imagine him writing down and be like, okay, Darth Vader is Luke's dad. This is gonna get him.
Yeah, I mean, having cool and fun, interesting bits in it is, kind of what Star Wars is known for. There's just these, that big revelation. It's adventure sci-fi. I don't know. I think that I think this conversation that they had is like, how do we fix this? And not as much like, Star Wars isn't good, we need to fix Star Wars. I don't think they really care about what it looks like or what it is. I think George is perfectly fine with everything that has happened so far.
So the question is, do we not give him a pass, or do we throw him a bone to hold out hope for Disney Star Wars?
I don't think we hold out hope.
No bones. No bones.
We don't hold out hope for anything.
Not even for George Lucas. We don't throw George a single bone and say, like, well, there might be hope that this could turn around.
No, I've never thrown George a bone. Never. I have never given him credit for like this amazing world or story. It was other people that made it really good. It was just his idea.
All right. And also he did it when he was young and powerful and creative and not a superstar.
Wait, what? Powerful and creative?
Yeah, George Lucas was powerful and creative in the early days.
At the very least, he was a nerd who recognized the fun story things in a lot of the things that he watched and consumed, and that's important. And that's
he hated Hollywood. He did it outside of the Hollywood system. You know what I mean? He was an indie filmmaker at his soul, and
Mhm.
he did revolutionary technology
And he had
filmmaking.
friends that were really good movie makers.
Steven
Yeah,
Spielberg.
So
he had friends.
he
That's
that were good filmmakers who helped him make
Look,
his
George
story.
Lucas back in the day was an awesome film producer, mediocre director back in the day. That's what I think. I think a
What's
producer.
George
what's
Lucas
the
is a
next
hack who
segment?
got lucky.
No,
We
a
still have
producer.
2 more segments, my guy.
Look, if he has connections, then he is a good producer.
No, we just have one more segment. Oh yeah, we do have 2 more segments. We didn't even talk about James Bond.
All right, so
Holy
what's going on
crap.
here? What's going on here?
So you guys have heard the news, I'm sure, about Aaron Taylor Johnson has
They
been
picked their
offered.
Oh,
He hasn't been picked, but he has been offered
we
the role of 007.
Ooh,
we've heard this with the Fantastic Four movie dozens of times at this point.
He hasn't been
Is
chosen.
is he?
No.
Is
He
he?
is not. But he is the only one that it has been announced has been offered the role.
He's pretty popular these days, and I like him as an actor. He's a pretty good actor.
Yeah, I like him too. I mean, so I think somebody was saying, probably Pierce Brosnan was saying something about Cillian Murphy being
Mhm.
James Bond. Cillian's too
Mhm.
old.
Too old.
also he's not ruggedly handsome.
He's not ruggedly handsome.
It's-
He's more suave.
Yeah.
I hate to. It's kind of funny that the character
Also,
he's
he's
built for himself
Irish.
now,
He's not British.
the character that he's built for him now, Aaron Taylor Johnson, not Killian. The character he's built for him now, and then you go and watch like the Kick-Ass movies, and you're like,
Mhm.
this is a little boy playing around on screen.
Isn't that funny?
Mhm.
But then I mean, obviously Idris Elba is
Well,
too old.
Well,
Yeah.
you've been
Too old.
pushing Idris Elba.
They should have done Idris Elba 10 years ago.
If you wanted a black James Bond, he would have
Exactly.
been perfect. And he wouldn't have had a problem. Like, he would have been a good fit.
Yeah, I think so as well. Really, the important thing was that for me is that he was British and a man.
Yeah, if we go, we're gonna go woman James Bond or
That
woman
would be-
007 pretty
no
quick.
thanks.
Oh man.
So Pierce Brosnan said that he thought Aaron Taylor Johnson would be a great. He said, I think the man has the chops and the talent and the charisma. That's important to
Chops,
play
talent,
Bond.
charisma. Got it.
Very much so. They
He
were
probably will
talking about.
smile more than Daniel Craig.
Oh man, please have a really, charming, authentic, classy James Bond, and not brooding Craig James Bond.
Look, I have
Yeah.
no problem with the take that Daniel Craig.
He's
shows
all right.
the
He's
Bond.
not charming enough for me. He's
Um,
not.
I just
the
I don't
most
know, dude. Them eyes are piercing.
peak-
They could pierce
peak-
to your soul.
peak Bond is is Sean Connery.
The
He's
first
the
one.
most. He's the most charming.
Was he
He's
the first one, right?
I don't know if he was the very first.
He was early.
So Pierce Brosnan says that, talking about another movie, he was really good in it. He was the greatest in it. So yes, I read the news about his possibilities of being Bond. So I would definitely tip my hat to the fellow. Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's not a bad choice.
I don't think so.
If you're gonna pick, he's British, right?
Yeah.
I think I think there's hope here. I think this actually could be great casting. I just gotta see it.
So for a minute, when it came to James Bond, it was like the most wild conclusions that people were coming to: men, women, black, white, whatever, Indian, of who could be James Bond.
Oh.
I think by offering this is what I think is the most important part about this whole thing. By offering Aaron Taylor Johnson the role, we know where the James Bond people are at in who they want to hire. A young, attractive, charming,
White guy.
British white guy. Yeah.
Who's not gay.
Who, I mean, we'll see.
As long as James Bond isn't seducing men.
See, that could be their loophole.
Oh my goodness.
That could be their loophole.
Make James Bond gay.
Make James Bond gay or bisexual, and then we can make him, white and British. But
if I saw anything like that on screen, I would just never watch. I don't even know what I would.
You'd be done with cinema?
Yes. No.
James Bond.
Look, I think this is good casting as long
I'd be
as
done
they
with
don't make
British
them gay.
people. That's what I would do.
I don't know that. I think James Bond as a character is held in pretty high regard, and at least from what I've seen, with the exception, okay, so No Time to Die I thought was good, but there was the whole conflict. You guys never watched it? There was the whole conflict with he had retired. They had given 007 titles to a different person, and then they came back, and for a minute they were both 007. You know what I mean? And they gave it to a black lady. All right,
right.
And there was this bit where it's a bit in the film where it's kind of like 007, and they're both like, yes, you know what I mean? That was a bit odd, but that's about the only woke thing I've seen enter the James Bond space.
Yeah, it's like I don't mind. I don't know if I necessarily mind like the Agent 007 not being James Bond, but it's synonymous with James Bond.
Right.
If they were to do a James Bond film where he's not James Bond, and to maybe like a Logan type movie, old James Bond, where he's not 007, I would be interested in that. But
that's kind of what No Time to Die was, a little bit.
But
it was like he was replaced.
James Bond is 007, and he is a secret agent, and that's what the movie should be about. His adventures as a secret agent, not about him retiring. Boo, stupid.
Yeah, well,
Don't do it.
The whole problem with old James Bond is the thing of, does he die? How does a character like James Bond die? Also, what is there any hope for a James Bond to be not an agent? Like, can he have a life outside of his work?
They started dabbling with it a little bit in the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies, where they started questioning the things that he does and why he treats women the way he does. They started questioning it's like, why, who is he? Why does he do these things? Is it purely because of manipulation? Is it because he's he can't imagine himself attempting to settle down with a woman after what happened to his first wife? Right. What is it? And so it was kind of interesting if you watch the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies about how they sort of question what it is to be a secret agent. But I also like the campy fun of him just going on secret agent adventures. And I think if they can mix the two really well, you can have a good recipe for a fun James Bond movie.
All right. Good recipe. Hollywood? Or who's making this?
I don't know, but
is James Bond owned by Warner Brothers? No, Universal. No.
Universal.
Is it Universal? Who owns it? Let me look it up real quick. Studio. Okay, so it looks like EON Productions?
Probably a British company. But so the other thing I did want to mention really quick is about them continuing to have him white is it's interesting, I think, that they're offering it to him. You would think that I thought they would cave under the peer pressure. But I think I think maybe studios are starting to understand that you can just create new characters like John Wick or Monkey
Monkey
Man.
Man. Yeah.
You know, and you don't have to cast.
Ballerina.
Yeah, you don't have to cast legacy characters as
No, something new.
as diversity hires.
I mean,
diversity hires.
that's
You
the
can
way
just
to
make
go.
new. Yeah,
It's
make
the
new
way to
cool
go. Just
characters.
make new characters.
Okay, but we did that. Chris Nolan did that with Tenet, and no one liked it.
I liked it.
Most of the internet did not like.
Did you see?
I
Did you see the
liked
meme
the
that was like, my
character. I
dad
didn't like
watched
the
Tenet
movie.
like this, and then at the very end was like, I didn't understand a thing. I like Tenet. Tenet is a good movie, and the people who didn't understand it are fools.
I understood it. I just still think it's a bad movie.
I don't think it's a bad movie.
It's definitely not a bad movie.
It's not a. Yeah, I don't think that can.
That's blasphemous.
It is long.
It's a bad movie.
It is long and it can be confusing. But
Okay,
it takes a little bit of thought to get into it.
Right.
Sorry if that's a bad movie.
No, we've talked about that at length.
I know, we have.
Don't want to get into this. Why it's poking the bear?
I know.
Trying
but
to
we can go round and round and round about it. But
we got a fun segment that we want to do a check-in, right?
Yes. So the last segment we got here, just
a game,
is going to be. It's not a game. It's gonna. So all right, let me explain this. Slide. Some of these movies are from last year, obviously. Poor Things and The Holdovers. This was the only slide that I could find that had a majority of 2024 movies.
Yeah.
And I think we've got most of them. We've actually got quite a few of the ones that are on our list.
Yeah.
But we're going to be looking at the first, let's see, what is it? 5 movies of the list that we did, talking about the 2024 movies, and we gave them ratings 1 to 5, how popular they would be.
Yeah. So if you missed that episode, we basically went through a majority of the most anticipated movies of 2024 that was announced.
Yeah.
I don't see Furiosa on this list, so I think that
Furiosa hasn't come out.
But what I'm saying is,
yeah. Also,
Furiosa wasn't on the list.
There have been movies that have dropped, that have been announced, that are not on our list,
right? But a bunch of them were.
Yeah. So we're going over some of the ones that we talked about. It's the first 5 on the list.
Okay, I understand what we're doing. We're going over them, but what are we doing when we go over?
We're checking in. We're seeing how popular they were.
How popular were they?
Based on our 1 out of 5 popular.
Based on our 1 out of 5. So the first one was Mean Girls.
Okay, we gave that a 3. I think it was.
I think it's more. I actually, the audience. I've got Rotten Tomatoes pulled up for all of these.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay.
And obviously, critical score is different than popularity. So it got a 70 and a 62. 70 on the what's their names, the critics, and then the audience score is 62. So it didn't. So ratings wise, it didn't do terrible.
Middle of the road.
Tomatoes, kind of middle of the road. But
so 3 is middle of the road because we did.
I don't know. Did it go up or did it go down popularity wise?
I think once it came out and it was done, it dropped off the cliff. Nobody kept talking about this.
Yeah.
It's on Paramount Plus right now, but I have no desire to watch it.
Well, I don't think most people do. Like, I thought it would be kind of like an Anthem following up Barbie a little bit. But we put it at a 3 collectively, and I would have given it higher. But I think it's more realistically, it's got to be either a 3 or a 2, right? In culture, popularity wise.
I think it actually went down. I think it went down
I think it went down too.
Let me get a pen I can edit these so we have it for the future.
So it could be like 2 definitive.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so I'll write final popularity estimation.
Also, it was surprisingly, I think, a musical.
It was.
I think more people would have talked about it had it not been like a crazy, weird musical.
Okay, so the next one was Madam Web.
Madam Web.
Oh, man.
What did we give?
We gave it a 3.
Oh, my gosh.
To be honest, it was very popular.
It was very I think it went up in popularity, but obviously not ratings.
It was not enjoyed by
No.
anybody.
It has a 12% critics, 57 audience.
The audience is dumb on that account.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Mhm.
Let me look at the actual verified ratings. Why doesn't it
Okay,
show?
so Madam Web was definitely more popular, but it was not an enjoyed movie at all. So we
No.
have to ask, what? How
Oh.
do we quantify it?
All audience is 41.
How
Hmm.
do we quantify it? Do we say it actually went up because it became internet popular for how bad it was?
Uh-huh. I think it went up in popularity a point because of
How much buzz there was?
how much buzz there was.
All right, so
Yeah.
we're gonna put it at a 4. All right, for popularity, because these
For
are popular.
popularity.
All right, so the big one, Dune Part 2.
What did we
I
put
think it
it
went
at?
down.
We made that a 5. That was top
Yeah.
of the list.
I
That
think
was
it
top
went
of the list.
down.
I don't think it went down.
I don't think
I
it went
think
down either.
I think it
I don't
delivered
hear,
exactly.
like, I don't know. I don't think people are. It's good, but it hasn't made it to 1 billion yet.
It's made it to
that's
half.
not what we were
500.
talking about. We
It
weren't talking
doesn't
about
matter.
box
It
office
hasn't made it to 1
reception.
billion because people
Joshua,
aren't
do you know
as
how
much
few
talking about it
movies
as much
make
as you
it to
think.
$500 million?
For
They
the
have not
past
made it
for
at
the
1
past
billion.
couple for the
Not
past
as-
couple weeks, I haven't been able to go on watch
not
a
1 billion.
video or talk to somebody without hearing something about Dune.
I think Dune
No.
sits right at 5.
No, it went
It's
down
at
to a
5.
4. It didn't go
It
down a
didn't.
ton. I'm not saying it went down a lot, but it went down a little bit in what I think.
But no, but Oppenheimer took 24 weeks to make it to almost $1 billion in the theaters.
And how many weeks has it been? It's
Dune
been
only
1
has a
week.
7-week theatrical run. We went over this. Like Dune's theatrical run is very short, and it's at $500 million.
And it has.
But we're not talking about money.
Right. We're talking
We're
about
not talking about
popularity.
money. We're talking about popularity, and Dune was very, very popular, and it was.
It was, but I still think it went down.
It did not went down.
It had
go
all
down in
the women on
popularity.
Instagram doing like with their
There
pets.
and there have
calling
there
a
have been
worm and they do the
tons.
pets.
There's
under
been
the-
tons of memes.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about when we talked about this popularity list. The public reception, memes, everything. I don't think Dune went down at all.
I think Dune. Well, but I think that was an easy one to call.
You guys are wrong.
Yeah.
And
Not wrong.
I think by majority vote we say it remains at a 5.
And that's
This
how we
is
do
the
these.
dumbest
because
thing ever. We can't.
That's how we did.
You
No,
wrote
that's
it
how we
because
did
it
all of them.
always singled out
Mhm.
here.
We did all
No,
of them based on public opinion.
no. Here's what's happening. You're singling out a movie because it was popular, and because it was popular, you're like, I think it went down because you want to be.
No, I'm saying it was
No,
popular,
'cause
but
you
it
want-
wasn't as popular as
No.
the first
Yes,
one.
yes, it was.
I don't
It
think
was
there's gonna
more
be a-
popular than the first one. It
I don't-
actually was more popular than the
Yes,
first one. I don't know
it's
what
true.
you were talking about. It made more money
No,
than the first movie.
of
Yes,
course
it
it's going
did.
to make more money. It went to streaming on the first one.
More
This one
people
went to
talked
theaters.
about
That's gonna
Dune
make
Part
more
2
money.
than Dune Part
More
1.
people talk. There was the
Ton.
popcorn bucket meme. You're insane if you think it was a 4. You're insane.
I
if
think
you
it was
think
a 4.
if you think that excitement and popularity for this movie went down, you're insane.
I think
right,
You're
let's
just trying to
move
be. You're
on.
just trying to be contrarian.
no.
Yes.
I'm giving my honest opinion here. I think it went.
All right,
I'm not
that's
saying it went
fine.
down a
Good.
lot,
It's a
but
opinion.
it went
It's a
down.
bad one.
Dude,
No,
don't cuss. I have to
it-
freaking put this as an explicit podcast. I
Only
have
if,
to
only
check
if we
the
cuss in like
Right.
the first 5 minutes.
on Spotify. They say, "Is there any language in this podcast?" And I always hit
No.
no because we keep our tongues at bay.
I'm sorry. Shite.
Yeah, that's a good one to use. All right. So Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Nobody's talking about this movie that is
What did we
currently in
put it
theaters.
at?
We put it at a 2.
Oh, I don't think we even looked at the Rotten Tomatoes for.
It's currently in
Yeah.
theaters and no one's talking about this movie.
Yeah, I've not heard anybody.
There's
talk.
nobody
Um,
making YouTube videos about it. There's nothing.
Really quick. Doom Part 2, 93, 95 on Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, you're right. It did go down in popularity.
Not yeah,
Ghostbusters.
it's not 100%.
If we get off Dune, Dr. Ron?
Ghostbusters, 44 and 84 on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, nobody's really talking about this one.
I think a 2 is
What
appropriate.
did we put it at?
We put it at a 2.
Yeah, appropriate.
Popularity 2. Nobody's talking about it.
I didn't see any excitement going in for it.
The only videos are the advertisements for it that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I'm not seeing
Nobody's
any
talking about this movie.
So the original Ghostbusters movies were fun,
Mhm.
but you're building your whole new franchise off of a movie that was kind of popular, but it wasn't the most popular thing out when it came out originally. So it's only going to go down.
Well, it grew in popularity over the years, right?
Nostalgia too.
Yeah. But I don't think this movie's, in my opinion, performing less well than the first Ghostbusters remake that came out a few years ago.
I've heard that. So this is the one. There was another one. There was a 2016 all female one, and then there was that one that came out. This is a sequel to that other one with Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, it's better than that one, but it's not great.
No, it's not enough for people to care.
Mm-mm.
So we're keeping it at a 2. We're going to say our prediction was correct. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not just the first 5 actually, because we also have, well, I guess Fall Guy's not out yet.
Fall Guy's not out.
Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire, which just dropped in theaters.
Just dropped. What did we put this at?
We put it at a 5 because you guys, I said, I don't think this has legs to stand on, and you guys said no. People love the monster movies. It's going to be popular. So
They do, but I think people are still talking about -1, and they're not talking about this.
Well,
Everybody's talking about.
I will say there's
-1.
been a lot of chatter about Godzilla Kong. It's been I definitely don't think it's been a 5. It hasn't been like super popular. People talking about
What's
it,
the
making
Rotten
memes
Tomatoes?
about it. Rotten Tomatoes is 55 critics, 92 audience.
So the audience loves this movie?
It seems like audience is having a good time with this.
Yeah. What's Kong versus Godzilla? Just curious. Look that up really quickly. I want to see what the audience rated the last one. Because I thought the last one was dog shite.
Let's see. Godzilla versus Kong 2021. That was 76-91.
So the audience liked the last one too. I can't trust the audience when it comes to these movies, man.
The reason the audience is given these high praise is because they like seeing monsters do monster things, even though technically it seems like they're getting more human. Godzilla's getting more human as time goes on and less monster lizard. I think
popularity. Are people talking about this movie?
People are having dumb fun.
4. Let's drop it down one notch because there's nobody online talking about it or doing good reviews of it.
So people are talking about it right now, but I think it's just for the review space.
Yeah, but it's not for like the actual like commentary space.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to be talking about this for much longer.
I think channels like on YouTube are dropping a review video and then that's it. So there's definitely nobody talking about the music or the acting or the cinematography or anything like there was a bunch of with Dune 2. There's nothing being talked about. All right, we're dropping it to a 4 just because
This is the dumbest thing ever because the audience score for that is a 92 and Dune got, what'd you say, a 95?
Yeah.
So it's literally they're the same, but yet
also
this
the
has gone
level
down
of,
and Dune has not gone down. It's
also the level of content. And
you're just an
memes.
apologist for Dune.
Talking about popularity.
Popularity.
You're an apologist for Dune.
Which one have you heard people talk about more?
Honestly, I haven't heard.
You can't say that
people talk about Dune that much at all.
You've told us on the podcast like 5 conversations.
I asked
employees.
That's me inquiring with people. I'm like, dude, what do you think about Dune?
Have you had any conversations about Godzilla Kong?
Yeah, actually, I have. Someone
One.
said they wanted to go watch it, and I have not heard anybody say that about Dune.
I think the box office speak for itself.
Look, this is popular.
This is dumb because
Nobody online's
literally the
talking
score
about
is
this.
right the same, basically, and you're saying that it's gone down, but Dune has not. That's the
Look,
dumbest thing I've
Dune,
ever
We're
heard.
talking about
100%.
popularity.
Dune 100% was more popular. In the same
Then
way
Kong
that
vs.
Madam Web
Godzilla,
was
yes.
popular because people talked about it.
So the actual question is, do we drop Godzilla Kong down 1 or 2?
I'm fine with dropping it to a 3, middle of the road, because
Yeah.
it's not people aren't talking about it, but they're enjoying it. So we could put it at a 3.
I think what would determine, since it hasn't been out for very long, is how long the conversation about this goes on and how long, if it has any life after it's been a couple weeks.
3.
I would say.
I'm pretty sure.
I
have a
would
good
need
feel
a-
about
I
this.
would
It's
need
gonna
at
be a
least-
3.
I would need
Yeah.
at least like 2 or 3 big memes to be like, oh yeah, people are still having fun with this content. To
Well,
leave
alright,
it at like a 4.
just came out, so we'll have to wait and see for that one.
All right, so so initially we put Mean Girls at 3. It's
Mhm.
a new popular score is a 2. All right. Initially we put Madam Web at a 3. Its new popular is 4
Mhm.
because of the hate.
Because somehow it went up.
Because
Mhm.
there was so much conversation and popularity around how bad it was. Dune Part 2, we said it was a 5. It stayed at a 5, even though
Mhm.
Joshua disagrees for some reason. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, we said was a 2. We're keeping it at a 2. And Godzilla and Kong New Empire, we said it was going to be a 5. And we're putting it at a 3. Which I don't mean to toot my own booty hole, but
Ugh. Oh,
I said
gross.
this when we were initially doing this. I said this. It's falling into the Transformers Fast X vibes where people
Mhm.
will enjoy it, but it's not a lot of conversation or popular outside of the
Oh, the
people who
last
are
one?
going to watch it.
I mean,
So-
all right, whatever. You
Sure.
can claim, you can have
I
that
said
one.
this. Look, all I'm saying is this shows you need to trust my opinion more.
No. No.
Trust me.
No.
I got my finger on the pulse.
But no, so that's kind of wrapping up that segment and the podcast. I will say that there's a couple more movies we have on this list: Fall Guy, Garfield, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Ballerina, Inside Out,
I
Quiet
think
Place,
Kingdom will
Kingdom.
be pretty good.
I'm waiting for
Despicable
Kingdom.
Me, Deadpool, and a bunch of other ones.
So we'll occasionally do a check-in, I guess.
So
There's no
I would
problem.
like to occasionally, maybe 5 or 6 movies, do that check-in and see what the popularity is looking like for the year.
Even though
I
some of us are wrong on this podcast.
So, yeah, people are going to be talking about Dune for a while.
I watched The Gentleman on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
And I
What you
gotta
thinking?
say, Guy Ritchie put a quality show together.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
It's
man.
a good, it's an enjoyable, captivating.
And you know what?
show.
I heard the same thing. Luke told me, he's like, I started watching The Gentleman. Man, I binge watched to like episode 4.
Yeah, I finished it
Really?
last
Good
night.
Good.
time.
Do I need to go
I haven't actually finished the
Look,
show. I think I'm
I
on
think
episode 4.
I think it's one of the series on Netflix that's been out recently that's worth watching. All right.
Oh yeah.
They-
It harkens back to a little bit of the kind of fun crime shows
yeah.
with
Yeah,
a
no.
little bit of humor, a little bit of crime. People like crime, dude.
And it's also got the British Duke appeal. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's the high living British. It's a good. it's a
Girls
good
like
show.
that guy for some reason.
I like that. Guy.
do.
I saw him on. I saw him on Time Traveler's Wife, and I wanted to be him.
Dude, I walked in on Ethan. Watching like one of the Divergent movies, and I saw him, and I was like, "Oh, The Gentleman." And then I was like, "Ew, Divergent." Ew.
You got to play the scumbag.
Terrible
in White
movie.
Lotus season 2,
Yeah.
but so did Plop.
Wait a minute. Where would you guys rate him compared to like Channing Tatum?
I like him
I
better
like
than
him
Channing
better.
Tatum. He was
He's
also in
definitely better.
He has a good presentation on screen. Channing Tatum's a little like Chad, you know? Channing Tatum's a little
He's
Chad on
definitely a
screen.
Chad.
he was also in there were like 2 Underworld movies.
Yeah.
Theo
What's
James
his
is his
name?
name. His name
Oh,
is Theo James.
Theo James, quality actor. He should be
But
in
it
more
came
stuff.
out the Underworld movies came out in like 2012. The guy looks basically exactly the same.
Yeah, he doesn't
He's not
age,
aging?
but
He's not aging.
he
Uh-oh.
also has a
We're getting into
broodingness to
Keanu Reeves.
Mhm.
He's the brooding acting type. Like that's his.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When he acts, he looks like he's acting, and that's the important thing. He
That
looks like he's a person
just
with emotions.
good performances in that show. His brother, the guy who's playing his brother, incredible.
The daughter Glass,
Yeah, she's doing
freaking
it.
amazing job.
Isn't it cool? Isn't it nice and refreshing
Susie
to
Glass.
have a powerful, smart, interesting woman character
Who's actually a woman?
that they're not like propping up for no reason.
Yeah.
It's just
No.
an interesting character.
Guy Ritchie put a quality show. If you like adult style kind of dark drug stories, it's not as dark as Breaking Bad, but something that's a
Or
cousin to
Peaky.
Breaking Bad.
But that machete scene,
That's pretty rough.
that was kind of rough.
But I'm talking about like the general vibe. There's kind of a lightheartedness through this show.
Give us,
you know what I mean?
give us a 1 out of 10.
Oh, 1 out of 10 for The Gentleman. I give it
Yeah.
an 8. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a
Okay.
very
Feeling
well
an-
told
solid.
I'm
story.
feeling an 8 personally as well.
I have not taken a peek at it, but I will, peek at it.
Watch it. When
And
you
it's
watch the first
recommended.
episode, you'll probably be hooked.
It's making me look forward to that other one with that Guy Ritchie's doing, the movie. Something about ungentlemanly warfare.
Oh, that's
Oh,
true.
That's
did you
his.
Guys did you guys watch The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal that he did?
Which one is that?
It's a
I think
military movie. It's about
Yeah,
a guy-
with him and
oddly enough, the guy who plays the dude who
Who?
takes care of the bodies in The Gentleman, he's also in The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal.
I don't know.
I do like
I don't
Jake
remember
Gyllenhaal.
seeing that
He's a
one.
pretty good
But
actor.
yeah, so seeing the show makes me excited for the ungentlemanly warfare movie with Henry Cavill and the guy from Reacher, Richardson.
Right. Let's
Um,
get Henry Cavill in something that's good these days because he's been in a couple stinkers lately.
Yeah.
We're not utilizing Henry Cavill for some reason.
It's cool. We've gotten 2 really good TV shows dropping, Shogun and The Gentleman. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness, saviors.
That's for something.